Hello, friends. Welcome to another Say It Loud podcast. I'm your host, Matt Jones. Very excited this week to have Laura Wood, who is the executive director of Kids in a New Groove. It's a local Austin organization that helps kids in foster care by providing them with a music teacher / mentor. Actually, Brian of Fair City Fire is one of those teacher mentors. We talked a lot about the basics of foster care, especially in Texas. And we talked about what the organization does for the kids. Kids in a New Groove has grown tremendously in the last 5 years, and that's under Laura's leadership. She's not only a professional and executive, but she's also into music. She dabbles in music herself. She may actually be a closet Justin Bieber, Taylor Swift fan, we found out. So check out Kids in a New Groove. You can support it in many ways, whether you want to be an instructor, whether you want to donate to the organization. You can actually donate instruments. So go into kidsinanewgroove.org. Laura was awesome. She even played the game name with us, where we got a lesson in rhyming from Joe. Enjoy the podcast.
Hey, I've got 888 on my mind. 888.
Oh, yeah?
I'm thinking about getting some after.
That's what I had last.
Did you?
Last Thursday. I
What'd you
hadn't had
have?
it in over a year.
That's a good move.
The chicken pad thai.
I'm getting the
I was
crispy
craving
pad thai.
it. It's my fave.
Oh man,
So tasty.
that might actually be a good move on the way home.
Yeah.
It would be dangerous living over here. I would be
yeah.
there all the time.
It's pretty good.
I go for that combo fried rice, spicy.
Dude, they know what they're doing over there.
They load it up.
I know, so I was like, I'll get the fried rice. It's like, that's going to be extra. I know. I know. You got me. I
Just take all my money. This is fine.
My mind is already made up
I
on
know.
what I'm
Yeah, right.
getting.
The Asian place.
It's always
packed.
You guys want to sponsor our show?
Yeah.
888. Yeah.
Well,
They
sponsor
love our
of
show.
the Say It Loud
Best
podcast.
sponsor
Yeah,
you
right.
could have.
They're huge fans of the show. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
They're actually playing us live in the restaurant right now.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
That's what the people want.
That's a great way to keep the traffic moving, you know?
Yeah.
Keep the tables turning.
What
Turning
the
over.
fuck are we listening to? Jesus.
Give me my food to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. I'm done here. They're talking about us. We're done.
Let's do it. Welcome to the Say It Loud podcast. It's a very special one, and I don't say that every time because I forget. I'm Matt, your host. We've got Brett, Brian, and Joe
Hello.
Hi.
of
Hey.
Fair City Fire and from King. I like the Kids in a New Groove. Until I was looking on the website, I never realized that it acronym was
It's
King.
King.
That's
It's a
way
good
easier,
one.
yeah.
It's pretty great.
Turning Queen into an acronym word would have been harder with the Q and the U.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little
Much
bit.
better.
We try to keep it simple.
Yeah, right.
Now, did you have King in mind? Were you like?
Well, we can get into that.
Oh,
but,
you're right. You're right.
but,
I'll wait. I'll wait.
What are you, the host? What are you-
I'm excited. Now I'm curious.
we got Laura Wood, Executive Director of Kids in a New Groove. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me
So sometimes,
tonight.
most of the time we do musicians, but sometimes we like to invite people in that are part of the community. I mean, you're still affiliated with music
Yeah.
in the community. So we're happy to have you on. And Brian obviously has a connection to Kids in a New Groove as well.
Absolutely.
That we'll get into. But I think off the top, can you give, and we can go into more detail, but can you give just the elevator pitch of Kids in a New Groove?
Yeah, so we give one-on-one music lessons and mentorship specifically to kids in foster care. So we find volunteer music teachers or musicians in the community, and then we pair them with a kid in foster care, and they go to their homes every single week and give lessons to them. And the focus of it really is more on the mentorship side of it. So we use music as the tool to reach these kids.
And you've been there since 2013,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
5 years now.
And it has been Kids in a New Groove since, 2009? They
Yeah.
kind of rebranded. Before that, it was Kids in New Digs.
Yes. Kids.
Right? So it was it was more of getting basic needs like clothes. And I guess somebody along the way thought maybe that addressed some needs, but it maybe wasn't as effective as what's happening now.
Yeah, our founder, Karen Scott, she used to work with kids in foster care through CASA. And so she was a CASA volunteer and really wanted to reach these kids somehow. Foster care was always something that was at the heart of it. And she was working in the music industry for a little while, and when she started Kids in New Digs, and gradually that's what we became as Kids in a New Groove, is she started just putting kids into music lessons and started seeing the difference in the kids, and then that's whenever we changed over.
And I was reading, I think it was a lot of the stats that you guys had published. I don't know if it's in a video, but there's something almost 27,000 kids in foster care statewide.
Yeah, now they just released a new report from last year, and there's over 32,000 kids now.
Wow, geez.
In the state of Texas.
It's a huge jump.
And state of Texas has like the lowest funding, is that correct, for a foster system?
Yes, we rank 48 in the states, and we are.
Can we give a shout out to the 2 states that are worse?
Do we know who they are?
At least we're not 50th.
But these kids, the kids in a new groove, it'll range from what, about 5 and over and up to 22.
Yeah, we work with kids school age up until they, technically in the state of Texas, you can stay in foster care until you turn 22. So through college, if they're going to college or have a job. And so a lot of our teachers, especially if they start with them while they're in high school, will continue with them up until 22 or longer. The relationships continue even if they age out of our program.
Can you just tell me what foster, I mean, I know what it is, but maybe people don't understand what the full scope of what foster care means, because I was reading, a lot of these kids on average will move 6 times while they're in foster care from different house to different house. So how does that manifest itself for these kids generally?
Yeah, so most of the kids, all the kids that we work with have been removed from their biological families by the state. And so they're placed into these homes as a result of either neglect, physical abuse, sexual abuse, a combination of all those things. I think the average is about 80% of kids in foster care have experienced sexual abuse. It's tons of trauma that they've been through in such young ages. And so these kids are then placed into foster homes where the homes are trained to try to really help these kids cope and learn coping mechanisms and just try to have normal lives as much as possible. But they're also, going to therapy appointments on top of all these different visits with their families, and behaviors come as a result of that. And so that's really where that stat of kids moving on an average of 6 times, sometimes it's at the behaviors of the kid, which isn't their fault from everything that you go through. I mean, if you can imagine. And then sometimes it's, just life circumstances. Parents are moving or whatever the situation is.
Yeah, and the numbers are pretty challenging. I mean, it's less than half graduate high school. Kids are in less than 3%, I think, graduate college.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about it, I always say, I went to college, but I don't know how I would have made it or graduated college without my parents' help. Whenever you go to college, you're still calling your parents and talking to them. And these kids, they're graduating high school, which is an amazing feat, but then they have to figure out how to make it after that. And so that's where it becomes difficult.
So I'm curious, like in the foster homes, how many kids are under one? I don't know if it's exactly this way, but like parents, rather their foster parents.
It depends on the home. They do it typically according to like square footage, but on average it's about 2 to 4 kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like an overload necessarily.
No, there used to be where they could have up to 10 kids into a home.
Oh, wow.
And the state of Texas has really cut down on that because they've realized that that's obviously not effective, where the parents can really focus on those kids and give them the attention and the help and support they need.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. You don't know too many people that have like 10 children successfully,
No. And it also, we all hear, thankfully that's not me. We all hear in the news and in the stories all of the terrible foster parent stories of
I'm
foster
sure, yeah.
parents that become parents just for the money, or they end up harming the children. And they were finding that with the stats that a lot of those parents were ones that had group homes that were the larger homes. And so in order to cut down on that as well, they cut down on that.
During that process, are they still trying to find permanent homes for these children as well?
Yeah. So the state of Texas about 5-6 years ago started focusing on finding kinship placements, which is family placements for kids, where that's their main focus, is that a kid being with an aunt and uncle, even if they haven't ever met that relative before, that will tend to be a better outcome than placing with a stranger. And so they have court dates along the way once they're removed, and really within that first year of being removed is when they're really focusing on trying to find a permanent home for that kid, whether it's with their biological parents, if that's possible, or with a family member. And then after a year, if that's showing to not be the case in either case, that's whenever they start looking at adoption.
Cool.
And so with Kids in a New Groove, we're talking about and this is a Central Texas organization.
Yeah.
We're talking about experienced musicians like Brian, local musicians that go in once a week. It's about 30 minutes or sometimes more, I think, depending on the arrangement.
The age of the kid and
but whether it's to learn
their attention span.
Yeah, sure. Guitar, piano, trumpet, singing, whatever the student's interested in. And kind of piggybacking on like the switch from Kids in New Dig to Kids in a New Groove. I guess the cynical way to look at it would be, why put money into music lessons one-on-one instead of like just throwing money at like the basic needs, like school supplies or just food or clothes? Like what is it about Kids in a New Groove or that structure that is beneficial more than just like tossing money at the basics?
Yeah, well, where we are different from, there's several other nonprofits out there that do that, which we partner with, actually. It's Foster Angels of Central Texas. But our focus is really the long-term effects with these kids. And, music is something that is proven to have long-term effects for these kids. And whether it's academically, socially, and then the creative outlet concept of it as well. Those are tools that these kids can take with them for the rest of their lives. And then when we're able to pair that with a mentor like Brian that's able to meet with them every week and really build this bond and relationship with them, that's a life-changing thing. And that's really something that's awesome to experience and see. One of my favorite things is to see these kids performing alongside their mentor, performing up on stage. And you can really see how much they depend on their music mentor. The way that they look at them for that sense of confidence and really just helping build those skills up. We can help give them, and those nonprofits that give the clothing, those immediate needs, those are very much needed and a wonderful aspect of the community. But our focus really is, how can we help these kids turn their trauma into a creative outlet and something that they can learn how to, when they are having these tough times, when they're struggling with not being with their parents, they can learn how to write a song or pick up the guitar and play, whatever that escape is for them.
Yeah, I'd imagine most of these kids don't have another adult in their life that's not either part of the system or part of school, right?
Yeah, so I used to work at a foster care agency. I was a director at a local agency for 5 years before joining King. And that's what you see is these kids. You'll have one kid and they'll have 6 different adults that are constantly in and out of their homes, but they're adults that are coming in. They're caseworkers and they're checking off a checklist. Like, do you have running water at your house? Do you have food to eat every night? No one's just coming and saying, hey, I want to talk to you for 30 minutes and not talk about necessarily anything. It's just, I want to sit here and be with you and maybe sit beside you and play piano together and really just check in.
How did you find out about it, Brian? I mean, I know you've been at it with a student for a while now, several months, right?
I think, to be honest, we were doing research on local nonprofits when we were putting a benefit show together at Fourth Tap, and that was maybe last April or something
I think
like that.
That was about a year ago.
Yeah,
now.
And I found a lot of cool things. We were already kind of doing stuff with Sims at that point, so we got them involved as well. But I came across Kids in a New Groove, and somebody brought it up to me, which was like, check them out. And I saw them and just, this is a great cause. Like, let's try to raise money for them. And then meeting you guys at the event was really cool. And it was just like kind of learning more and more about it. Just like, I think I want to do this. I think I want to give my time in that way. And it's been great. It's been like a really, really enriching experience for me, for sure. So, yeah.
Obviously, there's a substantial background and background check, and I'd imagine there's a lot of laws that are interwoven into the selection of the volunteers, and they're all volunteers, right? I think at this point.
Yeah, we have about 3 or 4 paid teachers that work at the group homes, and they're working with multiple kids with more severe behaviors that they've developed. But we have 100 volunteer teachers right now.
Wow.
That's more than I thought.
Yeah.
That's
incredible.
Yeah, that's great.
And how many students are there now? I mean, I saw at one point maybe it was around 150, but I'm sure that fluctuates.
Yeah,
over
it fluctuates
time.
on any given day. We're typically right now around 150.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's been an amazing. When I started in 2013, we had 32 students and 12 teachers. So just in 5 years, we've grown tremendously, and it really is, I think, as a result of the Austin community, the Austin community with our music background and just how supportive everyone is and really wants to give back. A lot of my friends that are musicians, once they learn about it, it's, I've been trying to find a way to give back my love of music in some way that's meaningful. And it's just really connected with so many people. And it's very heartwarming to see that.
How did you get into like advocacy for children in foster care? I mean, were you in social work? Or
it really kind of all came together. I went to grad school for counseling, and that's what I wanted to do. And then halfway through grad school, I was like, I don't want to do this. And I wanted to do social work and do more social work. And whenever I graduated, I was looking for a job, and the internship that I had, they knew that I wanted to work with kids in some form or fashion. They suggested this foster care agency to me. And so I started working with them and became a director there, and just absolutely fell in love with the population. It's something that a lot of people don't think about on a daily basis, just because, it's not necessarily a fun thing to think about what these kids are going through. But for me, just knowing that we're able to make that difference in these kids' lives, and maybe even if they're with us for 30 days or a year or 6 years, as one of our kids is, we can make some sort of difference with them. So I was with that agency for a little over 5 years. And then I started hearing about Kids in a New Groove at that point. It was kind of when it was taking off a little bit more, and just fell in love with the concept. I am pretty involved in the music community here in other ways, and being able to combine my love of music with my day job and passion of working with kids in foster care, it was one of those dream ideal job situations that doesn't come along that often.
Yeah, it's so great. I mean, it's kind of one of those things you hear about something like this, and it's hard not to fall in love with it,
Yeah, I was just, as soon as I heard about it, and we started referring some of our kids at my agency to King, and then I was like, I have to be involved some way. So I just started talking to the founder and was able to come on as a program coordinator at the time, and worked my way up to executive director and over the 5 years.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Stepping on heads on the way up.
That's what I do best.
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting, I think, from a musician standpoint in Austin, especially one that's been in a band for almost 4 years, that it kind of after a while feels like nonstop. You're always promoting yourself and always like doing things that are like sort of self-involved by nature because you have to. But like I can say that like last summer when I made that decision to like start, teaching and through Kids in a New Groove, it's just like, it's cool to do something that's totally not for yourself, like there's no.
Absolutely.
And I think that's anybody could feel that way about their lives. Like, giving is obviously something that feels very good. And,
it takes you out of yourself for a minute and just reminds you of what you've been blessed with and how you can give back to these kids. And in return, it gives so much back to you as well.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that.
So I'm curious because obviously there's more than just 150 foster kids in Austin, I would assume, right? How do they decide they go to go through your program?
Yeah, well, my program manager, Carmen, she works with the CPS, all the local foster care agencies to promote our program and really bring in more kids. Our goal for the next 3 years is to increase by 50 kids each year, which is a pretty aggressive goal, but we've seen how effective our program is in each of the kids that we work with, and we want to reach more. In the greater Austin area, there's about 2,500 kids in foster care, which is a substantial number, and we want to be able to reach those kids with this program. And, our goal isn't that all kids are going to be, rock stars performing at Moody Theater. It's let's give them this tool that they can use, even if, they might not ever perform on stage in front of somebody, and that's fine. It's giving them that person that they can meet with each week, and then an instrument along the way.
So does the child themselves, are they the ones that typically, like, is it a CPS worker that says to whoever, hey, I really think that you should try this, and then the child is like, yeah, I'll give it a shot, and then is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, for the most part. Sometimes it's the foster parents that hear about us. Sometimes teachers at schools. We work with a lot of schools in AISD too, and sometimes it's word of mouth between kids too. It's a little combo of all of it, especially at our group homes, though.
Nice.
Whenever you have one kid taking guitar lessons and they see the kid with the guitar, it's like, I want to do that. Why do they get the brand new guitar and I don't? And so it spreads pretty quickly at all the group homes.
I can speak from experience on that. Like, the first time I went to, because the kid I teach is at a group home, and like the first time I went there, I just felt all these eyes kind of like peeking around the corner. I'm like, yeah, you want this too, don't you? Yeah.
Wasn't it like I can't remember. It was like a not a replica necessarily, but it was like a guitar that a famous artist didn't use this specifically, but uses a similar.
Yeah, that's another cool thing is King will hook up these kids with an instrument to practice on and get to know, and then once you're through a certain number of lessons, I forget how many it's
about 6 months, like 24 lessons.
So it's substantial. I mean, they have to stick with it, and they
show commitment.
Yeah, for sure. But they'll let you, they'll give you an instrument to keep, which is amazing. That's like such a cool thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
And that's where a lot of our funding goes to, is these brand new instruments for them. Because we want it to be something that they're excited about and proud of. And that's always my favorite thing, since I don't get as much interaction with the kids or the teachers, is whenever teachers will send pictures of the kids when they first get that brand new instrument. And you can just see, awesome. See the excitement on their face, and how they know that they earned that.
Yeah, that's theirs. It's got to be some kind of like reward behind that for them, as far as like, having something they can call their own and take care of, and
definitely
work for it.
Work for it. Yeah.
I remember band in school, just learning trumpet and stuff, and they're like, okay, you got to go rent a trumpet, or and it's like, if my parents didn't have money, or if I was in the foster, that might be really tough. I don't know. to get something that's any good, at least,
Yeah,
So
it's
that's a huge
very
thing.
expensive. And, that's where we've been blessed by the Austin community by a lot of instrument donations that we're able to use at the beginning when kids first are enrolled. And then we partner with people like Straight Music and Violins, etc., so that they can help us once kids have earned those instruments.
That's
cool.
excellent.
Yeah.
Do they, just off the top of my head, do they offer singing lessons as well? Is that
we literally any type of instrument.
That's really cool.
Or voice lessons. Voice is an instrument. And we've also done music production classes and lessons. Cool. Really anything that the kids want and show some sort of interest in, we'll figure it out.
That's excellent.
I want to shout out to Sean at Straight Music, actually, because when my student was having trouble with his guitar, there was like some intonation issues. I was giving him problems, like some of the frets would buzz, and you just can't really work with that. No. But Sean donated his time to fix it for him, and it sounds beautiful now. And it's just because he loves Kids in the Groove. He told me he'd love to be a mentor himself, but he doesn't have time.
Yeah, so Straight Music has been so wonderful to us over the years, and a huge support of our program, and really donated so much of their time and efforts to make sure that our kids have the best instruments.
That's cool.
But he's got a customer for life for sure, out of me.
That's sweet.
Definitely. That was such a cool thing.
It's good to shoehorn the plug, too, for kidsinanewgroove.org, because I know it has the application process, the volunteer applications, but also has a link or a page on there if you want to donate your instruments. So I always see people online trying to sell off their instruments, but it's not a bad idea if you have the means to donate.
Yeah, we're always looking for instruments, especially our most popular lessons are guitar, piano. For piano, we ask for keyboards since they're more mobile.
Nobody's getting a baby grand.
No. Although we did get a call today from somebody trying to donate a baby grand.
Really?
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Very appreciative. I was trying to figure out how to fit in our office, but we try to go for the keyboard since kids in foster care do unfortunately move so often. We want to make sure it's something that they can take with them.
That's wild.
And so you're mentioning the 3-year plan increasing ideally 50 every year. So it's kind of like the rising tide. The more students you get means you need more money. And as executive director, I imagine that's a lot of the load that you carry is shaking hands, making contacts, working with organizations. What are some of the challenges you find in trying to build, or in terms of building up to this goal?
I think one of the biggest ones for us has been visibility, because Austin is such a wonderful community that's very supportive of everything, nonprofit wise, that there's a lot of nonprofits out there. And so us just making a name for ourselves has been our huge focus over this past year, and really getting people to know about us and being creative with our fundraising. We were finding, we started about 4 years ago. We were doing galas every year, just like, every nonprofit does. You have a gala every year. And at that point, it was just me and Karen, the founder. And after the last gala we did, we were like, never again. This is way too much work for 2 people. And you're putting all your eggs in a basket. And for a nonprofit of our size at the time, it could have broken us very easily. And so that's when we switched to the concert club, is what we do now. And it was a pretty scary switch because not a lot of people were doing those things at the time. And so now what we do is in the fall, we sell memberships to a concert club and at various levels. And then we'll put on 4 shows for our donors throughout the year that they get private access to. And it's local Austin artists. Like we had Molly Birch and Midland, and then David Ramirez is playing in August that Brian's student is opening for.
Yeah. He's really excited about that. Yeah, he's so pumped.
And then we have Kalu and the Electric Joints. So we try to make it fun and intimate venues, and keep the crowds at between 200, 300 people. But then we also, to bring it back to our program, we always have our students as the opening acts for each of these shows. And so it's just really cool to see these kids that may have been in lessons for 6 months, and then they're up on stage in front of 200 people playing with their teacher for the first time.
I can't even imagine that.
I'm so interested to see how my student does. Like, because, he's getting in lesson, it's just the two of us, but that's a totally different animal, get in front of that many people.
Man,
like,
I can't even imagine
some
that.
people thrive in that, like kids, some kids, I feel like you will, but it's just, it's going to be interesting to see how
the
he
best
reacts.
thing about it is just it's such a supportive environment, and it's hard on our side of it because we know the backstories of these kids and how proud we are of them, but you can't, share that on stage. Our last show with Midland, it was 3 sisters, and they had been in our program about 6 months at the time, and one of the girls, she literally, whenever she came into that foster home about a year prior, didn't talk. She would not talk to anyone. If someone asked her a question, she would whisper it to her sister's ear or in her sister's ear. Wow. Yeah. And so for a year later and 6 months of music lessons, for her to be on stage performing, I was crying, of course, but I cry pretty easily, so no surprise. But, just knowing that our lessons and that music teacher really helped her build her confidence so that she had a voice, and that's something that you can't, that isn't.
You can't just purchase that.
Like, no.
That's awesome.
What about?
Sounds like a movie.
Yeah. On your side, Brian, so now you're a music teacher.
Yeah.
Like, have you adapted to that role? Do you think, you've been able to learn about how to teach?
That's been interesting because I've never done that before. I've never taught, which is another good feature of Kids in New Groove. It gives people like me an opportunity to try that.
Yeah.
And in a setting where it's like not just about that. So it's like if, worst case, if I'm not like doing that great teaching lesson because I'm just getting into like learning how to do it, we can just talk. We can just catch up. There's a lot of different facets to our relationship, which is really nice. But it's been great, and just kind of getting to know him and what he's interested in, and kind of like zoning into that and like shaping lessons around that has been great. I mean, I don't know how I'd do if I had like 15 kids and I was trying to do it like professionally, but like with like one kid, it's pretty great. It's like, he's like, I want to learn AC/DC. I'm like, well, you came to the right place. Yeah.
At least it wasn't the year Frozen came out, because that's pretty much all really? What the students.
Oh no,
not this guy. He was probably like, I want to learn Judas Priest like during that time.
That's amazing.
He's a classic rock kid. It's great.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you got linked up with that, because that's exactly who you are. That
wasn't by accident. I think, they ask you a lot of questions about what you're into and stuff when you sign up. So,
cool.
And just I'm sure it's not always a perfect match like that.
No, it's not. But we work really hard. My program staff, they do ask a lot of questions because we want it to be a good match, and something that's going to last for a while.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
What energizes you in terms of that relationship? I mean, is the best case scenario or the best weeks, I would imagine, are when he's practiced and like you guys can almost jam together. I mean,
there's definitely that, but I mean, I don't know. It's I think the best thing I could think of, because it's the most recent thing that was like an accomplishment, I would say, is like last week when we met up, it was like we were going through these chords and stuff that we've gone through a lot, and he's like really starting to get them, but he was really frustrated in the first part of the lesson, and just really struggling. Just like he just said out loud, like, I'm not gonna get this, this isn't, like, I don't think guitar is for me, blah blah blah. Like, he's getting down. I'm like, no, like, okay, like, you might not get this right now, maybe not today, maybe not next week or whatever, but eventually you will. It'll click, and we just got to stick to this, and and by the end of the lesson, he was nailing it. He was really getting it, and he was feeling really good. Like that self-doubt turned into like, I just did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That feels really good. And then he started to believe in himself. Mm-hmm. And it was cool to see that change in over the course of 45 minutes. Like that total 180 in attitude was just like, and it wasn't really anything that I did. It was just kind of like a
reframing.
Hey, yeah, like, don't put so much pressure on yourself to get this right now. I think that's a big thing.
And that's the whole point of our program right there. We tell our teachers that come and volunteers that come to us from the beginning that if you have taught lessons before, completely forget that whenever you're coming to Kids in a New Groove, because that's not what it's about. It's about building that confidence for these kids and getting them excited about something.
And how often do you have to handle, the exterior, the being in foster care? That's, I don't even want to say distraction, because it's more than distraction. It's real life. And how often do you kind of have to overcome that when you're teaching to like focus on the music? I mean, that's got to be one of the biggest challenges I would expect.
Well, I think, Laura talked about a little bit how these kids all like went through some sort of trauma for, almost 100% of them, I don't know what the numbers are on that, but it's probably close to that, I would think. But it's, so I mean, there's challenges that come with that. Just sometimes they're just, their experience was not like what I had growing up, or what a lot of my friends had. So that's a challenge right there, like getting to know what their struggles are, and and working with the foster parents. It's, I don't know, it's fine. It's a new relationship, trying to figure out how that works. And, they can be a little protective sometimes, I think, of like, just kind of maybe watching like really close on what's going on and maybe hovering a little bit. And it's like, it's kind of nice that you're so interested, but it's like also maybe like, I don't know. It's tough. It's an interesting, dynamic trying to teach a kid in that environment, but it's also, I don't have anything to compare it to. Yeah, because
a lot of them, they had no structure prior, and that's a huge thing that we push, is this is providing them that structure and that stability that you're going to be there every week or every other week and going to show up for them. And that really, in and of itself, proves a lot to these kids. A lot of people don't keep their commitments to them, and we're able to do that. And and as a result of the trauma, a lot that affects their brain and their own development. And so a kid that is 10 may actually emotionally be at the age of a 6-year-old. And so having to figure out that difference with them too, because you're looking at a 10-year-old, but mentally and emotionally they're a 6-year-old.
Wow. And how big is the staff that actually works in the office?
We have 4 full-time staff members, just as of last week, 4 full-time. Used to be 3.5.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That's awesome.
But now we're at full-time, which actually is a huge jump for us, especially 5 years ago there was 2. And we've worked really hard, and for us to be able to continue to expand and do all the things that we want to do program-wise, and it's really allowing us to expand. Like this year, we have our first summer band camp.
Oh, yeah.
We're pretty excited about.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been my dream for a while, as crazy as that may sound. But, a week-long camp for our kids just to bring, because they don't get a lot of chances to all come together and meet each other, and the teachers to work together. And so we're doing a week-long morning camp with our kids this year.
That's awesome. Yeah. Is that going to be, you said morning, so it sounds like it's not going to be like an overnight kind of like go to a resort, not resort, but like
legally that would terrify me.
Like a campground.
A lot. But no, one of our group homes, Texas Baptist Children's Home, they have a big music center.
Cool.
And are letting us use their space. And so we'll be there from 9 to 12.
That's awesome.
For a week. In July, and one of our current music mentors is helping to head that up, and really give us that connection and touch point with our kids, and let them get to know us and have fun for a week.
That's cool.
That sounds great.
I know.
So you mentioned that this was a good kind of marriage for you in terms of the gig, because you're interested in music? Did you play in school? Do you play now?
I grew up taking voice lessons and piano lessons, and so I was involved in that all through middle school, high school, and then whenever I went to college, I still continued playing piano. It was more of like an outlet for me. And then it's always been a huge part of my life. And then I wanted to move to Austin just because I love music, and that's obviously part of the culture here. Mm-hmm. And so I've gotten to become really close friends with a lot of people in the music community, and just being able to support them in a different way. And I started taking guitar lessons, I guess, about 5 years ago now. When I started working with Kids in a New Groove, I wanted to know what it was like to take lessons and go through that. So I joined a group here, Girl Guitar, which is pretty amazing.
Is that Julie Nolan's thing?
It's a group of ladies that we drink wine and learn guitar together. So it's basically my dream. But then at the end of it, it's a 6-week class, or each of the sessions are 6 weeks, and then you do a showcase where you perform on stage in front of everybody. So it was pretty terrifying, and but it gave me an experience that what we put our kids through too, going and
minus the drinking wine.
Minus the drinking wine. We do not drink with our children.
We do not.
That's reserved for me. And so, that music has been something that's gotten me through really hard times in my life, and I just have been able to really connect with that part of it for these kids, and it's been pretty amazing. And I'm pretty lucky to have some pretty wonderful friends that are here in the Austin music community.
Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Choose wisely.
Yeah,
I know. I'm like, I can make some enemies real quickly. I'll shout out to Carson, since I see her sticker right here.
She's been on the show. Yeah,
been on the show. Yeah.
She's awesome.
She's an amazing singer-songwriter.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
For you, what is a successful case? I mean, is it in a perfect world, does somebody age out of the program? Or, I mean, I guess in a perfect world, they're able to find a forever home, I guess, right?
Yeah, and we still continue lessons with them. If they're adopted into a home, they'll still get free lessons from us, because we feel that that's important. If a kid has started that and developed that connection, we don't want to take that away from them.
Yeah.
No. And for me, I think that what I see as the most successful is whenever the student and the teacher really become a part of each other's lives. One of my favorite stories is one of our teachers, Mike Hidalgo. Shout out to him.
Yeah. He's the man. Yeah.
He's awesome. He's been a teacher with us for about 4 years now. And, seeing his relationship evolve with his student who was adopted, and he was a part of the adoption ceremony. His student was a part of his wedding and attended his wedding, and they've become family. And it's we do Mentor of the Year awards and Student of the Year awards. And I'll never forget this past year, his student's dad wrote us a letter in nominating him, and it literally for 3 months, every time I read it, I cried. But he had this one line at the end that talking about his value, and it's just Mike's value to my family is eternal. And as I'm like tearing up now, but it's something that you don't realize the effect that you're making on these kids and on the families that you go see on a weekly basis, and may not ever see that actual result of it, but it's an impact that lasts forever.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, you got to make the push for that award in the next few years.
I'm gunning for that.
We're about to open nominations up in a
All right, hey.
Brian volunteers for the awards.
I'm just in it for the awards.
Yeah.
He's got a shelf at home.
Future mentor of the year award.
Yeah. Here.
No pressure, Brian.
Remember when you were on the podcast? Remember that?
Yeah.
Does that help?
Points.
Yeah.
You were on our podcast one time.
Yeah.
You remember?
Just says that under the award, like
Yeah.
invited us on podcast.
You slip her like $1.50. Shh. Here. Let this do whatever it's gonna do.
Not in quarters, though. It's in dimes.
Yeah. Roll of pennies.
Here, I
Corruption.
wrote my nomination letter. You just got to sign it. It's real emotional. It's heartfelt. It's great. It's very impactful.
I swear this is from his dad.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's great. Mike's such a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Such a good guy.
Man, probably, as the numbers keep going, there's a better chance for a breakout star to come out of Kids in a New Groove, maybe in the next 5 or 10 years or something like that.
I know, you never know. We have some very talented students. And we do have some alumni students that play in bands or involved in, the arts, photography or videography here in town as well. One of our students, he was actually one of our very first students. I still keep in contact with him, but he's in a band. He lives in San Marcos now and goes to college there. But for the longest time, when he was living in Austin, I would help him find gigs around town with his band, and we would help his band record records and just really do whatever he needed. He had an amazing voice, and his pitch was perfect no matter what you did, and he was super talented, and he still plays in San Marcos.
Can you give the name of the band?
Yeah, Scarecrow Birdie is the band's name.
Yeah, cool.
That's a cool name.
Yeah,
Shout out to those.
I know.
dudes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's, well, I say a kid, he's 23 now, so he's not a kid. In my mind, he'll always be the young kid. But he plays solo gigs in San Marcos all the time, and with his band as well, and we still keep in touch. And his band has actually come and performed for different opening acts, and I think the last one that they played at was Octopus Project. His
very
band
cool.
opened for them.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
What an opportunity. That's great.
Yeah, and that's really with all these kids. We want, even if they do age out, to know that we're still here and we'll really help you out. We have another alumni student that she took lessons with us for about 3 years and graduated from UT. And so we work with her, and if I ever need someone for photography or for videography, I'll contact her, and that way we're giving back to her. I would much rather pay one of our alumni students to do something where I'm helping her out than a company, as much as I also love our wonderful companies that we work with.
Yeah, well, and vice versa too. I mean, you can, look what the program does. You can, she's a good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm lost for words, but it's awesome.
Yeah, we want to make sure that they're taken care of, and that they know that they can always text me or call or email.
That's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you've got to be a very hard-working woman. That's for sure, I would imagine. You probably put in more hours in the average week than most people for their job, I would imagine.
Just a few hours.
Let's use the band. It's a good segue to a game name. So this is a little something we do on podcasts. And it's not too hard today, but there's going to be a theme.
We never asked the important question here. The question I've been waiting for. Yes, since the beginning. Remember, you told me to wait, and I've been waiting.
Oh, because it was Kids in a New Digs, right?
Yes.
Kind,
yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind, yeah.
So then the name was there first before the...
Yes.
Okay.
It's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before the acronym.
All right.
So
that's what I was wondering. That's all.
was it when it was?
I thought you were going for king. Like
When
you
was
were
it?
like, what can we do to make it king?
I
We need
wish.
it to be king, or something like that. That's what I was. That's what I was wondering.
When it was Diggs, was it like, all right, let's go to Goodwill or some of the hip little little fashion thing and give them new clothes.
That's what I picture in my mind that it was is kids in new digs. I picture them digging for the quality clothing, which is complete opposite of what I would ever want to do for my students. So
what we really try to do
also
is
probably not the best name, but you know.
We try to turn our kids into hipsters as fast as we can.
These digs came out of the bargain bin.
That'd be funny if you showed up, Brian, first day. It's like the most important thing about guitar lessons is setting up your Instagram and getting that Twitter out there. We got to get you set up with some clothes.
I mean,
gotta get the look
get
down.
the business plan.
I mean, that wouldn't be wrong.
Yeah.
We're going shopping right now.
Yeah.
Just as important.
I'm gonna need you to take 12 selfies a day.
I'm also your image mentor
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I got What size are you?
Yeah, don't put the guitar down. Don't worry about that. We got a lot of other things.
That's
you gotta
not
look good
important at
first.
all.
Sorry. Okay. Well, let's go to this.
Let's
game
do
name.
this game name. So we play it once in a while. This one, it's not going to be too hard, but there's a theme. I'm going to name a few songs. We'll go around in a circle, and you guys name the band. I think they're easy, but we'll see if somebody can pick up the theme of kind of what's going on here. So we'll start with Brett, and we'll go around. I'll just name some songs. You give me the artist or the band.
Okay.
Let's start off. This one's easy for Brett.
Can I just guess before you even tell me?
You want to guess somebody on the list? Okay.
Yeah.
That would seem a little fishy.
I know, I'm nervous. I'm bad under pressure.
He didn't tell me. Kings of Leon.
No. I like where you thought,
okay.
you thought it was going to be. Okay.
Yeah.
Kings.
I was just guessing. I was guessing.
See what he's doing.
I did think about that.
Okay. Continue. I'm sorry.
Good guess, though.
Let's go with...
You know that would have brought our friendship even closer. If I went,
yeah, I would have. I'm glad it didn't.
Could it?
I'm glad it didn't.
All right.
He actually just changed it. It was actually going to be it.
Son of a bitch, get out of my head.
Coming up with a new game right now. Hold on. So let's go with these songs. Water Runs Dry.
Oh,
End of the Road.
Don't go, or,
On Bended Knee.
Oh, Boys to Men.
It is.
Yeah.
Boys to Men.
I was thinking someone else there.
I see.
They formed in high school. How about, here you go.
Wait, I'm confused on the theme here.
You'll get there. You'll catch up.
Brian, let's do Longview.
Green Day.
Yep. Oh, easy.
Ooh,
Yeah.
dang.
They met each other.
Now I'm nervous.
They all met each other and formed in school.
Yeah.
Joe. How about...
These are all bands that formed in school?
Not all of them, but... The Climb. We Can't Stop. Party in the USA.
Miley
Cyrus, yeah.
There you go.
I was like, who sings The Climb? And then I thought it was like a serious song. I was like, oh, wait, that's...
Young Miley.
No.
It's a very serious
I've known all the others, and now,
Okay, now I'm
now
gonna
it's my turn.
I'm gonna do a really hard one now.
Oh, good.
We like to make our guests uncomfortable.
As my palms sweat.
Let's do... This will be classics, but you'll
no.
see.
No, you are gonna give me a hard
How
one.
about Under My Thumb?
Oh, no.
Can't You Hear Me Knocking?
Oh my God.
Beast of Burden. Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Bruce?
No.
Oh,
No.
you're almost...
Oh, this is a heavy.
Oh,
This is a heavy stone.
I know. Rolling Stones.
Yeah, Rolling Stones. There it is.
I was rolling a stone for everybody at home.
I thought
been-
of Bruce because I actually heard him sing Beast of Burden.
Whoa.
That's
wow.
cool.
Wow.
It was pretty amazing.
That would be
That
cool.
would be
It was
interesting.
actually before I started working with Kids in a New Groove. I used to volunteer with Sims Foundation.
Okay, cool.
As a way to give back to the music community.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my first event to volunteer for them, and it was the Austin Music Awards. And I showed up, and Bruce Springsteen was the surprise guest, and I was like, I love Austin.
That's amazing. All right, then we'll count. Your answer counts.
Yeah, we can count that.
You get the point for that. We can see the confusion.
They actually, most of the guys went to primary school together. Rolling Stones. That's where they
Yeah.
met.
There you go.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Here we go, Brett. We'll do one more round. Here you go.
Oh, boy. Yeah, boy.
How about sorry, baby, love yourself.
Oh.
Oh, I know this one.
His last name rhymes with Beaver.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Does it not?
Rhyme with beaver.
That's not what rhyming means.
That's what? That's what it rhymes. It rhymes. What are you talking about?
Beaver and Bieber.
Yeah.
You can make it work.
Yeah. I mean, I got what you're saying. Yeah.
It sounds like
what they call
like Beaver.
That's what they call a near rhyme.
Is it? I'm just curious with this particular reference. Are you using Usher as like the mentor kind of ship in this, or I guess I don't know the story.
It's just basically
behind it.
people that
in grade
either
school?
got their start as kids or met as kids.
That makes sense. Okay.
Started their music career young.
Back in school, we used to.
Here, let's do this, Brian.
Yes.
How about Beautiful Day?
You too?
Yeah. They formed in school too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Here we go. 2 more. Joe. Let's do I can see for miles. Won't get fooled again.
The Who.
Don't
Behind,
be
yeah.
Oh.
The Who.
They met as teens together.
Very cool.
And one more. Let's do for Laura. Let's go old school again.
Oh, good.
Different genre.
I was real good at it the first time.
You might know this.
Sadly, I got Justin Bieber.
Oh, that's
It's
what you
more
say.
embarrassing,
Alright.
actually.
Well, here, I'll give you the hard one first, and if you
No.
can't get it, then
Go
we'll
to the
switch
easier
over.
ones.
I crack under pressure.
That's probably not what you said for your executive director
No,
interview.
definitely
Are you saying the game name is harder?
I get nervous about music.
I crack under pressure and have a weakness for
Do
sweets.
not
Do you
share
mind
this
if we-
interview with my board.
Do you mind if we put that? So we're gonna take this game. We're gonna make a box edition of it.
home
So do you mind
edition.
us putting that quote on the thing? Harder than.
Yeah. More difficult than running an organization. Yeah.
What do we got?
See. Who's loving you? I'll bet you. I want you back. I want you back.
They all met in Indiana.
Other hits.
They all met in
Yeah.
Indiana, didn't they?
Other solo hits such as Pretty Young Thing.
Um,
You got it.
Beat It.
Jackson 5.
It is the Jackson 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old Gary, Indiana.
Yep.
There you
I
go.
want,
Yeah.
I want you back.
Here, I bet you'll
Remember
get.
that song?
Let me
I'm
see.
not gonna sing it for y'all though.
I'm gonna. So I wonder if you'll get this one. Then I'll just throw another one at you, and maybe this is your speed. Blank space. Love story.
Oh God.
You know
I'm
it
gonna
already.
pretend like I don't
Okay,
know this
you want me to
one
name a couple more?
easily.
We'll cut that one
T
out.
Swift.
You're like, oh, it's
I work with a lot of kids, you know.
Yeah.
You know
Sure.
the
Yeah,
popular
yeah.
songs. At least I can blame my nieces and the kids that I work with on my secret love.
Yeah,
of pop
and that's why it's
music.
your ringtone too. The kids, yeah.
Trying to be relatable.
Bad
That's
blood
it.
is your ringtone. Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks, Laura. So, kidsinanewgroove.org. It's awesome. I think what I love most about it is the idea of like having, the structure, something constant in a life that can be stressful or chaotic, and something reliable. And I think it's cool. It's Brian is doing it. I wish I had some musical talent. I could jump on that, but maybe they want to learn magic tricks. We could do that instead.
You never know.
Magic
You
tricks.
never
Magic
know.
camp
Or
is
broadcasting.
sweet.
Do
Yeah.
podcast hosting, yeah.
Oh, I think
Yeah,
you said
yeah.
broadcasting, but it sounds like podcasting,
yeah.
so that's
It
okay.
rhymes.
Close.
It does
Yeah,
rhyme. That's a better rhyme
yeah.
than Beaver and
Yeah,
Beaver.
Beaver. That's funny.
But yeah, that's
That's not
the,
what rhyming means.
yeah.
Sounds alike.
Yeah. So kidsinanewgroove.org, that's where you can go if you want to be a volunteer, if you want to donate gifts or instruments, if you want to check out the events that are going on.
Concert club.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
It is really cool. I've been to a bunch of those. They're awesome.
they're a lot of fun.
Or become a mentor yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
All on the website.
Start the application. Yeah. And I
but
guess
you heard it from Brian Wolf.
Yeah.
That's if you want to be a mentor.
We're always looking for new mentors all through Austin and outside of Austin as well.
And I know that Austin has
really
over
awesome.
2,500 musicians in this town. So
It's true.
let's see you guys.
Yeah, talk to Brian about it when you see him out there.
Give him a holler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Probably
look
talk
forward to watching your goal of increasing 50 students every year.
Yeah, thank you so much
That's
for
awesome,
having me. I
course.
appreciate it. And just any chance to get the word out about our program and how to get the Austin community involved. And we really appreciate it.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Excellent. And just podcast business. I think all the social pages are up now, so you can check that out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Say It Loud Podcast.
Yeah, we're for real now.
So that's all on there. Yeah, it's real.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Congratulations.
Yeah, this is episode 41 now.
This is the 41st.
It's a thing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah. But thanks, Laura. Appreciate it. Kids in a New Groove. Check it out. Support it.